What's up, y'all? This is your boy Q Parker, and it's going down, y'all, right here. You know I got soul.com, alright? Keep it right here. Hello?
Hey Q, how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing good, man. We appreciate you taking the time out for this interview.
Man, appreciate you, man.
Definitely. Just want to start talking about your new single you have out now, Show You How. Just give me some background on the creation of that song. Talk a little bit about it.
Well, the lead single off the album, The Manual, is called Show You How. And it's the perfect first record from The Manual because The Manual is basically, a how-to guide. And it's an in-depth look at who Q Parker, the man, is. But it's also like a how-to guide on how I feel like, women should be treated and how women should, require a man to treat them. To let women know that, there's gentlemen out here and the chivalry ain't dead. It's just somebody that understands all the nuances when it comes to catering and treating a woman the right way. Mm-hmm. And the lead single is just, it's a spin of that. Show you how. Give me a chance. Stop settling for less. We've all been in a situation, man or female, where you've actually had a front row seat to somebody being mistreated, not loved the right way, and from the outside looking in, you just then get them like, yo, if you just give me a chance, I can show you how you're really supposed to love.
Yeah.
So that's just the lead single.
Cool. And you mentioned the upcoming album, The Manual. Just talk a little bit about the sound, musically we could expect on there.
Well, the sound is a straight up R&B record. It's just an R&B record, hands down. I come from a R&B, hip hop and R&B group, 112, but the core of me is I'm just an R&B artist.
Mm-hmm.
And the album has a lot of substance. I think a lot of times R&B artists, we steer away, or we have in the past, steered away from staying true to R&B and the elements that make an R&B record what it's supposed to be, and that's the substance, what we're talking about, the lyrics, how we're wording it, and the melody, how we deliver it in the vocal performance.
Yeah.
That's what I took into account every time I wrote a record, every time I sang a record, and every time I chose a record. Is this going to fit the bill as it relates to these qualities that I think every R&B fan are looking for? And I think we did a great job, man. I A&R my complete album. I pretty much wrote 85-90% of the album.
Okay.
And I think we did a great job, man.
Yeah, I mean, from what you're telling me about this album, that is exactly what a lot of R&B fans I come across are looking for. So I know they'll definitely be excited to hear this project. Talk a little bit about releasing the project, because I know you're used to, when you were part of 112, you were on a major label, and now you're doing this independently. Let's talk about the differences there.
Well, one of the main differences is, in 112, I was always just on the artist side. Mm-hmm. But now, the way that my situation is set up now, I established my own production company, New Fam Entertainment. I signed myself, Q Parker, as an artist to New Fam. But then I took my company and did a partnership with Malaco Records. Malaco is an independent record company, but they operate as a major. They have all the legwork and the manpower as the major company. And for me, it was the best situation for me, because being somewhat of a veteran in this game, I knew I didn't want to go back into the major systems, because they are asking just for too much. They're requiring too much from the artist. So now, with the way my situation is set up, I'm not just the artist, but I'm sitting at the table coming up with the ideas with the team, my team in Malaco, and more so on the business side. And I have a say-so in how the movement of Q Parker is created and how it is carried out. So for me, that's like the best situation.
Yeah, cool. Now, it's been a little bit of time, few years since the last 112 album came out, back in 2005. Now, do you consider this a reintroduction because it's your first solo album, or is this kind of just picking up where you left off?
Well, it's kind of a reintroduction because, again, for years you guys have really gotten to know Q from 112, but I really didn't have the platform to really fully introduce Q Parker, the man. And that's really what this mission is about, allowing you guys to really get to know me as a man, as a songwriter, and how I've matured musically and as an entertainer. But the fact that I'm doing this the way I'm doing it, it shows maturity. It shows that I've grown. It shows that I don't negate and don't forget where I come from, which is 112. But I'm on a whole new mission, and that mission is Q Parker. And I just chosen to do it a lot differently than probably the 112 album was done. And I think you can definitely see that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Now, each of the other members of 112, they've already released a solo album in the past. This is your first one. Was it always your plan to do a solo album?
No, it really was never my plan to do a solo album. After the last 112 album, Pleasure and Pain, we all decided to take a break and just kind of allow everybody to explore their individuality. And as a songwriter, I'm constantly writing records for other artists. And for male artists, I have to demo my own songs. And just demoing songs, I found myself putting one song to the side. Well, next thing I knew, I had 7 songs that were a good foundation to actually start the idea of a solo record. And I found my manager, and a year later, here we have the manual. It started out just with me demoing records, and it just kind of grew into now a full album and a Q Parker solo individual album. Yeah.
All right. Cool. I know sometimes when it comes to groups, fans, they might not always recognize the individual members. They might just know it as a whole. And I was wondering do you feel it'll make it a little tougher to have fans embracing you, especially without that 112, label or backing?
Well, I don't think so, because what we've been doing, like we've been doing a lot of groundwork, and really we've been kind of like positioning me as a new artist. Not relying solely on the 112 brand, even though I'm a part of it, but not just really solely relying on it. And I think the things that we've been doing musically, from a viral space, just from a marketing and promotional space, people know that I'm from 112, and it's just really getting them to believe and really trust what Q Parker has to say and what he has to sing about, and just buying into the whole Q Parker idea. So I think we've been doing a good job. We still have a lot of work to do, but I think I don't think fans will disappoint, because I come from my brand, and when I open my mouth, you can't help but say, hey, now I see what contribution Q played in 112 when you hear my music. So I think people will still be able to get their 112 fix, but then they'll also be open enough to really embrace Q Parker and what I have to offer. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Now, how have you had to evolve as an artist? Because you mentioned you're a veteran, and the R&B is so much different than it was back in the mid-'90s when 112 came out, and you guys had so much success. You were on top of the world. So, how have you had to kind of evolve as an artist to even stay, doing this music thing and stay wanting fans to hear from you?
Well, one thing is, of course, I'm big on the image. One of the things that I've had to do was, keep myself looking to par, competitive, and keep my ears to the streets and see, what songs are being successful, what artists are being successful. I'm a competitor by nature, so I'm always putting in the work. I'm always, do the things to set myself and prepare myself for success. It's just that, again, keeping my ears to what's going on and paying attention how the industry is evolving, so that I won't seem dated and I can just slide right on in and compete.
That's a good point. Speaking of image and that type of thing, I know this is your second year releasing the fitness calendar. Talk about your motivation for putting that together.
Well, we all hear that from a country standpoint, America has one of the highest obesity rates in our kids and just as a country. So, I wanted to do my part in motivating, educating our, just our society, our country, and our nation on the benefits of being healthy. Longer life, just feel better, more energy, So, I felt, I could give the ladies some little eye candy, but also give some nutritional tips, some easy to follow workout tips, to just make it not only just entertaining but educational as well. And I do give back. I believe in doing charity work and giving back. Partial proceeds of the calendar go to the American Cancer Society. That's a disease that has actually affected my family personally.
Wow.
And you can go get the calendar, www.qparkerfitnesscalendar.com.
It's a beautiful thing. And now that you're in your second year of this, have there been any success stories? Have fans come back to you and tell you that it's helped them?
I hear all the time, traveling around the world, I hear all the time people telling me, like, I've been some motivation. Even guys will tell me, man, I had to look at your abs, man. My girl tell me that your abs are this, that, man. It made me want to go in the gym and work out. So, however I need to motivate you, that was my mission.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And finally, just to wrap up, I always run into fans who are always waiting for a 112 reunion, and I just hate to ask, but Deron mentioned a couple months ago 112 would be back, and do you have anything to comment on that?
Well, yeah, man, we're in conversation right now of a possible 112 summer reunion tour. I haven't really spoken about any music yet or any new music or new album yet, but just to appease the palate for the 112 fans, you will be able to see us this summer. Hopefully, like I said, we're in negotiating phases right now of possibly putting it together. So
cool.
You will see 112 this summer and all four original members. Okay.
And I know fans are going to be happy to hear that, definitely. All right, so anything else you'd like to add?
My Twitter handle, QParker112, Facebook, QParker Music, my YouTube channel for all of my webisodes, QParker Sings. And, go get the single. It's on iTunes and Amazon. And, just follow me, friend me, and keep up with what I got going on. The video will be debuting next week. Olivia's playing a leading lady. My boy Willie from Day 26 is playing the quote-unquote other guy in the video. So we have a lot of great things going on. I'm performing at the Essence Festival this year, which is major for me. And, I'm just trying to touch one to equal all.